I used to think my fiancée, Harper, was a person who simply loved life. Big laugh. Big smile. The kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they suddenly needed to impress her. I mistook that for charm. I mistook that for love. 6 weeks before our wedding, I was still convincing myself that her need for attention was normal. That wanting to be the center of the universe was harmless. That marriage would somehow make her calmer, more grounded, more focused on us. Her father had paid for most of the wedding. The venue. The floral arch. Even the tiny mason jars with fairy lights that she swore were necessary for the ambience. Both families were already rehearsing their speeches in their heads. Everything felt set in stone, until it wasn't. That Friday, Harper told me she was headed out for a girls' night. A last hurrah before married life. I stayed home, not even a flicker of suspicion in my mind. I ordered pizza, queued up a video game, and melted into the couch like any relaxed soon-to-be husband would. Then my phone buzzed. Harper had posted something. Probably a group pic with too many cocktails and inappropriate hashtags. I opened the notification without a single thread of worry. The picture loaded, and I felt my stomach twist. Harper was sitting in the lap of a man I had never seen before. Not casually. Not the way you might squeeze into a selfie with a friend. His hands gripped her waist like he owned the right to hold her. Her head was back, laughing, his face buried in her neck. No women in sight. No context. Just betrayal dressed as a party. Her caption sat there like a slap across the face. The last night of my freedom. I kept staring at it, waiting for my brain to give me a reasonable explanation. It didn't. It only whispered one thing. She does not care if you see this. The comments from her friends made it worse. They cheered her on, calling it iconic, teasing that I'd never know. My name is not even Jeff, yet someone joked with that name about how clueless I must be. So I wrote a comment. One simple line, steady as a surgeon's hand. Actually, the first night of your freedom. And I tagged her father. In one move, I cut the brakes on her little party bus. The notifications erupted. Shocked reactions. Friends suddenly very quiet. A digital room full of frozen faces. Harper deleted the whole post within minutes. That didn't undo anything. Her messages rolled into my phone like she was the victim of a crime. Demanding explanations. Telling me she was just playing around. Complaining that I embarrassed her. Not once did she ask if I was hurt. Not once did she express regret. Her father called, trying to piece together what happened. His voice was tired, like he already feared the truth but hoped he was wrong. By morning, the situation mutated into something neither of us expected. Someone had taken a screenshot of the photo before Harper deleted it. Someone sent it to a massive wedding-shaming group online. Someone else added commentary, laughing at a bride who needs freedom from her fiancé before the vows. It spread faster than an apology ever could. Suddenly, Harper wasn't just a mistake in my life. She was a meme. A joke. A symbol of everything strangers already hated about modern relationships. Edits of her photo popped up everywhere. One showed her behind cartoon jail bars with the words, "Freedom isn't free." Another added a countdown clock, as if she were escaping imprisonment instead of preparing to marry someone who genuinely loved her. She saw it too. And she panicked. I could tell by the frantic calls I ignored. When her father called again, his tone had changed. He didn't sound confused anymore. He sounded disappointed. That alone hurt more than anything Harper had done. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a new message request. A woman I didn't know. Her profile showed her smiling with a familiar face. The same man whose lap Harper had graced. Her message was short, but heavy enough to shake everything I thought I knew. Thank you. I would have married him next month. She included a picture of her engagement ring. Screenshots of affectionate messages between them. A hotel location pinned from the same night Harper supposedly had her innocent girls outing. 8 months, she said. Maybe longer. We were both planning weddings with partners who were planning their great escape. It was a strange feeling, being heartbroken and validated at the same time. Like discovering that the bullet that hit you was fired by a gun pointed at someone else too. Harper's attempts to reach me escalated. Long messages shifted between rage and guilt-tripping. She claimed it was harmless. She said I was overreacting. She tried everything except the truth. Eventually, her tone broke down into fear. She now understood that deleting a post doesn't delete consequences. She kept saying I was humiliating her. Which was ironic. I didn't create the situation. I only stopped covering it up. By the end of the night, the world already knew what I was just beginning to accept. The wedding wasn't happening. The trust was dead. The image was gone. The future we designed was a counterfeit. Harper had wanted one last night of freedom. What she got instead was the first night of consequences. It is a strange thing to watch your life become entertainment for strangers. Overnight, Harper transformed from my future bride into a viral cautionary tale. People who would never know her name still recognized her face. Comments poured in on reposts of that picture like a flood of judgment. Some thought the whole thing was staged. Others diagnosed her with commitment issues or declared that I dodged a bullet the size of a freight train. My personal favorite labeled her a limited-time offer that expired early. Meanwhile, I was just trying to process the broken pieces of my own reality. Harper continued blowing up my phone. At first, her messages were full of excuses and half-hearted explanations. Then they shifted into anger. Eventually, they turned into fear. The tone dripped through every notification. Please, help me fix this. Please talk to me. Please make them stop. What she never once said was, I'm sorry. I ignored everything. Later that afternoon, I got another message from the unknown woman who had contacted me the night before. Her name was Lena. She was the other fiancé in this twisted equation. She thanked me again for exposing what she called a man who practiced infidelity like a hobby. She said she hoped I wasn't drowning in the chaos. Then she asked if I wanted to share details, to compare timelines. We talked. Not like strangers, but like people thrown into the same shipwreck, clinging to the same floating debris. We discovered that Harper and her fiancé, Lena's fiancé, had been meeting under the guise of work events and friend hangouts. There were receipts, locations, cryptic calendars, everything. They weren't soulmates. They were opportunists colliding. Lena also admitted something that made my jaw clench tightly. Her fiancé had laughed about me once. Said I was a safe bet for Harper. Someone reliable and harmless. Someone who would pay the bills and take care of her while she chased excitement on the side. That turned my heartbreak into something hotter. Something sharper. By evening, Harper's father called again. He asked to meet in person. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, a stark contrast to the chaos outside our phones. He looked older than I remembered. More defeated. I realized this wasn't just my wedding imploding, it was his dream for his daughter, too. He asked only one question. Was the picture real, and had there been more than just that night? I told him yes. I didn't have to shout. I didn't even have to cry. The truth carried enough weight. He sighed, long and heavy, like a man burying a belief he'd held for years. He pulled out his phone, sent 2 messages, and then set it on the table face down. Whatever those messages said, they were final. That night, Harper tried a different tactic. She attempted damage control publicly. She reposted a filtered selfie with a caption begging people not to believe the lies spreading about her. She described herself as a victim of hackers and jealous people who wanted to ruin her happiness. She forgot that the entire internet had already seen the original picture. The responses were brutal. People weren't buying her denial. They mocked her for using the most predictable excuse in the book. Screenshots of her deleted post resurfaced under her own new post like receipts ready for checkout. In the darkness of my apartment, I watched a new kind of message roll into my inbox. Not from Harper. Not from Lena. From random strangers. Messages saying I deserved better. Messages reminding me that a marriage without respect is a slow suffocation. Messages that called me a hero for not staying silent. It felt surreal. I wasn't a hero. I was just a guy who got tired of being lied to. Still, the validation from strangers struck a strange chord, like distant applause you never expected to hear. By midnight, the hashtags had started. Hashtag last night of consequences. Hashtag freedom granted. Hashtag run Jeff run. Jeff wasn't even my name, but the internet had adopted it as a character in the story. A symbol of a clueless fiancé who finally wised up. Meanwhile, Harper's reputation crumbled. Her friends distanced themselves publicly, wiping old photos. Her maid of honor deleted her entire profile. Even her coworkers chimed in anonymously, saying they weren't surprised. The lap guy, Lena's fiancé, tried to stay silent. That didn't last. Someone who recognized him exposed his identity too, and suddenly he had more eyes on him than any corporate policy could permit. His own job called him in for a conversation. Lena did not elaborate on what happened next, but she did say it was loud. Harper sent me one last long message that night, practically begging for help. She said she couldn't breathe with so many people attacking her. That her life was falling apart. That I had ruined her. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I closed my phone without typing a single word. I didn't ruin anything. I simply stepped aside and let the truth hit the light. By the time morning arrived, the internet had officially taken a side. Not hers. Never hers again. They stood with the guy who walked away. The guy who saw the last night of her freedom, and granted the first night of justice. Harper always said she loved attention. She used to joke that she was born for the spotlight. Now the spotlight was burning her alive, and she had nowhere to hide. Her workplace found out. It started with whispers in the break room. Then screenshots reached her supervisor. She worked in a public-facing field, one obsessed with image and behavior. The idea that she was now a trending symbol of relationship failure didn't sit well with the company. She was called in for a professional conduct review. That alone made her spiral. Her father played his role quietly but powerfully. He froze every wedding payment under his name. Venue, catering, decor, all on hold. He told her mother that if Harper insisted on chasing freedom, she could finance her own cage of consequences. He wasn't yelling. He was done. Meanwhile, I was still trying to understand the ruins of my future. Sitting among untouched wedding invitations felt like staring at a life someone else designed for me. A life that was already dead. Lena checked in with me daily. She had become an unexpected ally, a voice that knew the sting in my ribcage. She also knew something else, something she hesitated to share. There was money missing. Joint funds that Harper and I had saved for the wedding. At first I assumed it was regular expenses. Then I saw the withdrawals. Hotel stays. Bar tabs. Gifts. Trips labeled as work travel. All of it leading to him. Harper hadn't only betrayed me emotionally. She had financed her cheating with my future. The anger in me solidified into something cold. Something purposeful. I called the bank. I froze our shared accounts. I notified every vendor that any contract tied to me was cancelled immediately. I cited fraudulent use of funds where required. Every vendor understood. Some even said they'd seen worse. The receptionist at the venue sighed like a seasoned witness of heartbreak and offered me tea. By noon, the internet had evolved again. People who recognized Harper started sharing stories. She had flirted with multiple guys while we were engaged. She had girls' nights that were really auditions for someone new. She had been treating me like a safety net while she trapezed through temporary thrills. It wasn't a single mistake. It was a lifestyle. Her name became shorthand in comment sections for someone who wants marriage benefits without marriage behaviors. #Harper became a hashtag. When I saw it trending, I laughed for the first time in days. Not because I enjoyed her humiliation, but because I finally saw the joke that had been played on me. And I had just turned off the laugh track. That evening, Harper showed up at my apartment. Her mascara streaked, hair unkempt, a trembling shadow of the confident woman she had projected to the world. She said she needed to talk. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Her voice broke as she tried to explain. The picture didn't mean anything. She was drunk. It was just a friend being playful. The internet was cruel. Her life was ruined. She couldn't show her face anywhere. She sobbed about how scared she was. Not once did she mention how she had hurt me. I listened. Calm. Silent. Observing the unraveling. She begged me to help fix the narrative. She needed me to tell people it wasn't cheating. She needed me to say it was a misunderstanding. She said if I loved her, I would support her through this. That was when I understood. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted a public relations manager. Her fear wasn't losing me. Her fear was losing the admiration she fed on like oxygen. I told her the truth. The wedding was off. There was no future left to salvage. The relationship was a body without a pulse, and she had been the one wielding the knife. She screamed. A raw, angry noise that echoed off the walls. She accused me of sabotaging her life. She called me petty, vindictive, dramatic. She blamed me for the memes, for the backlash, for everything except the choices she made. I didn't react. I let the storm blow right through me. When she realized I wouldn't bend, she shifted tactics again. She became soft. She touched my arm. She whispered that we could fix things. She brushed tears away with trembling fingers and promised she would change. And somewhere in her eyes, I saw it. There was no love. Just desperation. Just the terror of being seen for who she really was. I stepped back. Her hand fell to her side, empty. She called me cruel as she left. Cruel. Because I stopped being fooled. Later that night, I received a message from Harper's father. He thanked me. He said he wished I had never been put in this position. He promised to handle the remaining fallout. He told me to live my life. To be proud of how I walked away. For the first time since the chaos began, I felt something like relief. Harper had wanted a spotlight. Now she couldn't escape it. And the brightest moment was still to come. Because the world wasn't done with her. Not yet. The best part of public glory is timing. And the final act was waiting. The week after the picture went viral, Harper was hanging on by the thinnest thread. Our wedding date was still on the calendars of hundreds of people, even though the marriage was already dead. Vendors were canceling left and right. Her father refused to pay a single cent more. Her job was on the edge of letting her go. The internet had turned her into a warning label. But the invitations had already been sent. Everyone still expected a wedding. I could have hidden quietly. I could have sent a simple message announcing the breakup. I could have faded from the story. Instead, I chose public glory. The venue reached out to confirm the cancellation. They asked if the wedding party still wanted the space for the date reserved. Harper hadn't responded to them. She was still hoping for a miracle. Still pretending the future wasn't in ashes. That was when I had an idea. It started with a question. What is a wedding without a bride? People arrived at the venue expecting romance. White roses. Tears of joy. They wore their best outfits and planned to dance the night away. They didn't know what was coming. I didn't send a single message explaining the situation. No warnings. No updates. The guests arrived to a giant screen at the entrance. A slideshow played quietly. Photos of happy memories. Harper smiling in beautiful dresses. Me standing beside her. The story everyone thought they knew. Then the screen shifted. And the picture appeared. Harper in that man's lap. His hands gripping her waist. Her caption displayed in bold beneath it. The last night of my freedom. People gasped. A collective breath sucked out of the room. Confusion rippled like a shockwave. Then the next slide appeared. Actually, the first night of your freedom. My comment. The one that started it all. The story unfolded in images and text on the screen. A visual timeline of betrayal and consequences. Screenshots of the viral memes. Headlines from wedding shaming groups. Reactions from strangers who saw the truth clearer than I ever had. No narration. No need. Harper walked in late, unaware of the ambush. When she saw the screens and heard the whispers, her face drained of color. She ran to me, shouting to stop everything. She grabbed at the cords and monitors, begging someone, anyone, to shut it down. No one helped her. Her father approached the stage instead. He took a microphone with the calm authority of a man who finally saw reality. He announced to everyone that the wedding was cancelled. That the groom refused to marry someone who felt freedom was found in another man's arms. That respect must come before rings, promises, or parties. Guests clapped. Not because they were cruel. Because they understood. Harper screamed that I was humiliating her. That I had ruined her life. She cried into her hands, mascara streaking into ink like rivers. I remained still. I didn't shout. I didn't revel. I didn't even smile. The truth was doing the work for me. When the slideshow ended, the lights dimmed. Music played. People didn't go home. They stayed. They celebrated. They danced. A wedding transformed into a breakup party. Everyone cheering not for love lost, but for disaster avoided. Harper was escorted out by her own father. She didn't look back. Lena was there too, quietly watching from the side. She gave me a nod of solidarity, then slipped out into the night. We didn't need to exchange words. We were survivors of the same storm. As the night went on, people congratulated me, not for the relationship, but for escaping it. They lifted their glasses to freedom. To truth. To new beginnings without lies. Someone handed me a microphone and asked if I wanted to say something. I said only this. She called it her last night of freedom. I just made sure it was. Applause roared. Hours later, I walked outside into the cool air, my chest finally feeling lighter. The fairy lights glowed above the venue like stars arranged just for me. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages and friend requests and interviews I would never answer. But one notification stood out. A message from Harper's father. He wrote only 3 words. Proud of you. I saved that one. On my way home, I passed by a small shop. I bought a velvet ring box. Not a ring, just the box. When I reached my apartment, I placed it on my kitchen table. The lid open. Empty. I snapped a photo. Added a caption. Freedom granted. That image became the final meme. The one people remembered. The period at the end of a cautionary story. The world loves a villain to condemn. It loves a hero to root for. But the truth is much simpler. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is just refuse to be a fool. The wedding never happened. The marriage never began. And Harper, who once craved a spotlight, now hides from every beam of light she sees. Meanwhile, I wake up every day knowing I escaped a future filled with lies. She wanted attention. Now she has it forever. Not for love. For consequences. Freedom granted.